Why be ordinary when you can be flamboyant? Wancheka Radio. Be flamboyant.
A court in Lagos has given approval to the Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project (SERAP) in its suit seeking an order for leave to apply for an order of mandamus, compelling the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, to disclose the names of contractors. SERAP had in January issued a Freedom of Information request and sued Fashola following allegations by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar that contractors who were paid 100% upfront for power projects disappeared with public funds without carrying out any work. Justice Chika Obiozo's verdict last Friday has now paved the way for SERAP to move forward with its suit to compel the minister to publish the names of all contractors and companies engaged in the power sector since the return of democracy in 1999 to date, with details of specific projects and the amounts paid for them. Justice Obiozo granted the order following the hearing of an argument in court and adjourned the matter till Thursday, April 11, for the hearing of arguments on the motion on notice on why the names of the alleged corrupt contractors should not be published. The Presidential Election Tribunal has granted leave to the People's Democratic Party and its presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar to serve President Muhammadu Buhari and the APC a petition by substituted service. The petition and other processes are to be served to the President through number 40 Blantyre Street off Aminu Kano Crescent, Wuse to Abuja, being the National Secretariat of the APC. Counsel to the PDP and its presidential candidate Chris Uche, while moving the ex parte motion, asked the appellate court to grant the request on the ground that it had become practically impossible to reach the President for personal service. Atiku Abubakar on the 18th of March filed a petition challenging the declaration of President Muhammadu Buhari as the winner of the February 23 presidential election. No date has been fixed for the hearing of the petition on the grounds that the main respondent, which is the President, has not been formally served with the petition as required by law. The Independent National Electoral Commission has issued a certificate of return to the Imo State Governor-elect Emeka Ihedioha, his deputy Gerald Irona, and 27 members of the House of Assembly in that state. After receiving his certificate, Ihedioha promised to run an all-inclusive government that would lead to cooperation between all arms of government. Similarly, INEC has issued certificates of return to some governors and state houses of assembly members-elect. The governors include Babagana Zulum of Borno State, Abubakar Bello of Niger, Ifeanyi Ogwuanyi of Enugu, Seyi Makinde of Oyo, Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta, Ahmed Fintiri of Adamawa. Members-elect of the Edo State House of Assembly also received their certificate of return. The Independent National Electoral Commission is seeking the support of various stakeholders to ensure the successful completion of the electoral process in Rivers State. INEC's National Commissioner in charge of Rivers, Bayelsa and Edo, May Agbamuche, made the plea in Port Harcourt on Saturday. While addressing candidates and representatives of various political parties in Rivers at a stakeholders meeting ahead of the April 2 collation and announcement of results of the March 9 governorship and State House of Assembly elections in that state. One of the objectives of the meeting, she said, is to generate discussion among the stakeholders with the view to achieving transparent, peaceful and violence-free conclusion of the elections within the timeline set by the Commission. INEC had suspended all electoral processes in Rivers on March 10, following reports of widespread disruption of elections in that state. President Muhammadu Buhari has promised that his administration would give urgent attention to the report of the Presidential Technical Advisory Committee on the implementation of the national minimum wage. Buhari made the pledge on Monday when he received the report of the committee led by economist and businessman Bismarck Rewane at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. President Buhari assured members of the committee that the presidency will review the report expeditiously and added that it may require input of some members of that committee. The meeting came 1 week after the Senate approved 30,000 naira as a minimum wage for federal and state workers across the country. A high court in Yola, the Adamawa state capital, has dismissed a suit filed by the governorship candidate of the Movement for the Restoration and Defense of Democracy, seeking the cancellation of the state's governorship election. Justice Abdul Aziz Waziri struck out Mr. Eric Thema's suit for lack of proof after an hour-long judgment. in which he held that Thurman failed to show that his party logo was omitted from the Adamawa governorship election ballot papers. Counsel to the plaintiff and its candidate told correspondents that his clients might consider approaching the governorship election petition tribunal. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has suggested solutions to the numerous challenges facing the legal profession in Nigeria. Osinbajo gave the recommendations while addressing an audience at the Body of Bench Award night held at the National Judicial Institute in Abuja. Professor Osinbajo is calling for the adoption of a set of reforms hinged on reclaiming the traditions of virtuous ethics and entrenching personal and corporate integrity, among others. The Vice President said this is some of the requisites for addressing the many challenges facing the legal profession, and they will go a long way in solving the problems if adopted. Osinbajo stressed that the practice of legal profession and the court must always measure up to the moral, ethical, and statutory standards subscribed to. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says it has set up an investigative team to probe 4 governors for corruption once they officially hand over. The governors, according to the EFCC, are Rochas Okorocha of Imo, Abdul Fattah Ahmed of Kwara, Ibikunle Amosun of Ogun, and Abdulaziz Yari of Zamfara. Yari was alleged to have diverted 500 million naira and $500,000 from the state coffers in 2017. Amosun would be investigated following a petition by the Committee for the Protection of People's Mandate, accusing him of misappropriation of 4 billion naira Anchor Borrowers Fund given to that state by the Central Bank of Nigeria. On his part, Okorocha was accused of moving over 1 billion naira from the state government to aid the campaign activities of his son-in-law, Uche Nwosu, while Governor Ahmed was said to have successfully diverted the sum of 1 billion naira from the state coffers a few days before the presidential election. The EFCC confirmed that investigations are ongoing and any political office holder found culpable of corruption would be prosecuted. And at least 150 children affected with lead poisoning in Zamfara State are still undergoing treatment, as international non-governmental organization Medicine Sans Frontiers has said. Deputy Head of Mission in Nigeria, Simba Tirema, disclosed this to newsmen in Abuja. According to Tirema, the organization is funding the treatment of the affected children, while the federal and state governments are collaborating with the organization to ensure more children are not exposed to lead poisoning in all the affected villages. In 2010, an unprecedented outbreak of lead poisoning was discovered in Zamfara, in which no fewer than 400 children died. 8 years since the outbreak of the lead poisoning, Medicine Sans Frontiers says no fewer than 150 are still being treated. In international news, Facebook chief Mark Zuckerberg believes regulators and government should play a more active role in controlling internet content. In an op-ed published in the Washington Post, Zuckerberg says the responsibility for monitoring harmful content is too great for firms alone, and is therefore calling for new laws in 4 areas, including harmful content, election integrity, privacy, and data portability. The proposition comes 2 weeks after a gunman used the site to livestream his attack on a mosque in Christchurch, New Zealand. Anti-corruption candidate Zuzana Kaputova has won Slovakia's presidential election, making her that country's first female head of state. Kaputova, who has almost no political experience, defeated high-profile diplomat Maro Sefcovic, nominated by the governing party's Smer SD party, in a second round-of vote on Saturday. She won 58% of the vote, with Sefcovic trading on 42%. Kaputova gained national prominence as a lawyer when she led a case against an illegal landfill lasting 14 years. Israel has reopened 2 boundary crossings with Gaza a week after closing them due to a rocket attack. The Kerem Shalom commercial crossing and the Erez transit point were reopened this Sunday amid mediation efforts by Egypt. Reports say restrictions on fishing off the coast of Hamas Road, Gaza, have also been lifted. The past week has reportedly seen increased violence, with Israel retaliating for the rocket attack by Palestinian militants in Gaza, and 3 Palestinians are reported to have died in border protests. In business, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria has reduced the monetary policy rate by 50 basis points to 13.5% from 14%, the first time the MPR will be reduced since July of 2016. CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele made the announcement during a press conference at the end of a 2-day Monetary Policy Committee meeting held in Abuja. The committee, however, left other key parameters unchanged. The cash reserve requirement, CRR, remained at 22.5%, while the liquidity ratio was kept at 30%. Emefiele explained that the cut in the rate was to support the nation's feeble economic growth at this time, stressing that the decision was aimed at reducing the rate of unemployment and diversifying the country's economy. And a federal high court in Lagos has fixed May 7 for ruling on a preliminary objection filed by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, against telecoms firm MTN. In September of 2018, MTN had instituted a suit to challenge the legality of the AGF's assessment of its import duties, withholding tax and value-added tax in the sums of 242 billion naira and $1.3 billion. Malami had, however, contended that MTN suit was instituted outside the time prescribed by law. At Tuesday's proceedings, counsel to the AGF, Tijani Ghazali, argued the preliminary objection and urged the court to strike out the suit filed by MTN. In entertainment, Chicago's Mayor Rahm Emanuel says the sudden move to drop charges against actor Jussie Smollett over a hoax attack has made a fool of the city. The state attorney's office maintains that Smollett has not been exonerated, while Smollett's lawyer says his record has been wiped clean. The police also maintains that Smollett staged a racist and homophobic attack, but the actor has insisted throughout that he's innocent of all the allegations. Speaking on a broadcast show, Mayor Emanuel says he wants the court records unsealed so that all the evidence gathered by Chicago police could be seen. He said he also wants prosecutors to explain why they made such a sudden reversal, insisting Chicago police had evidence that Smollett had made up claims that he was attacked on January 29 in downtown Chicago. In sport, Team Nigeria has emerged winners of the female category and also retained its crown as continental champions at the African Wrestling Championship. Nigeria finished tops with 195 points. Host Tunisia was second with 177, while Egypt came third with 160. Nigeria registered 10 female wrestlers for the championship, but only 9 competed and produced 5 gold, 2 silver, and 2 bronze medals. The Nigerian representatives include Mercy Genesis in the 48 kg category, Odunayo Adekuroye in the 57 kg category, Sumisola Balogun in the 65 kg, Blessing Oborodudu in the 68 kg, Blessing Onyebuchi and Aminat Adini in 62 kg, Hannah Ruben in 72 kg, Rosemary Onweke in 53 kg, Ifeoma Onyema in 59 kg, and Esther Kolawole in the 55 kg, but couldn't compete due to hurting knee. And Chelsea staged a late revival to end a controversial victory at relegation-threatened Cardiff City, thereby easing the intensifying pressure on boss Maurizio Sarri. Although Chelsea controlled ball possession in the first half, Cardiff took the lead less than a minute into the second half, following a goal by Victor Camarasa, prompting cries of, quote, "We want Sarri out" from Chelsea's travelling fans. With 5 minutes left, Cesar Azpilicueta nodded in an equalizer from a controversial offside position. And then in added time, substitute Ruben Loftus scored the winner to seal victory for Chelsea. That was News Roundup. I am Binta Bhadmus.
It is so easy to be a part of the Bansheka Radio family, but just so we are absolutely clear, here's how it works.
You begin by checking out our website at www.banshekaradio.com,
where you will find articles, pictures, videos, and of course, updates and announcements about us and maybe even about you, depending on what you're up to, of course.
Be sure to leave comments about anything that interests you on any of our platforms. And speaking of platforms,
you should totally follow us on Instagram at Bansheka Radio and join our page on Facebook. You know why?
Because you can tag us whenever you want to advertise you or anything you're promoting.
You should also join the conversation about our shows
after you listen to them, of course.
And just like that, before you know it,
you'll be one of us.
Flamboyantly beautiful.
Yep, just like that. Bansheka Radio. Be flamboyant.
Why be ordinary when you can be flamboyant? Bansheka Radio. Be flamboyant.